Oh wow, oh, that looks beautiful. Oh my gosh. Today we are gonna make a baked egg casserole with a lot of yummy vegetables in it. You're gonna love this and it's gonna impress all your friends. So the first thing we're gonna do is chop up a half an onion, and some of you have seen me chopping onions or shallots before, but I like to use that technique where you chop across and then you slice down and then you come down on it and you have perfect cubes of onion chopped, which is exactly what you want for this recipe. I'm gonna put those in right away into my saute pan because they're gonna take the longest. And then that's gonna go on the stove on a medium-high heat. These onions I'm just sauteing with a little bit of grapeseed oil, and I'm gonna eventually put this broccoli and shiitake mushrooms in there with them. If you are caramelizing an onion, you wanna do that on a lower heat, a medium-low heat, for a long period of time, like maybe 30, 45 minutes. We don't want to take that long, so we're gonna saute them just till they get a little brown, and then that is ultimately gonna bake in our casserole with our eggs. And now we can start to chop up our broccoli. So I chop off the stalk, and if you've seen some of my other videos, you should check out my broccoli situation video where I teach you how to pickle broccoli stalks. Really delicious, and also a way to not waste food. And I love doing that. I love finding a way to eat everything. So I'm getting these pieces of broccoli down to pretty much bite size. When they cook down between the sauteing and the baking, they're gonna be really tender, but it is better if they're a little bit smaller because you want them to spread out in the casserole so that every little piece of casserole, which kind of ends up like being like a quiche without a crust, so that you'll get a bite of broccoli in all of it. I'm just gonna put these vegetables in as they're chopped. So that's going in with our onions because this is all gonna rebake in the casserole dish. So I just kind of wanna get it a little bit pre-cooked. I'm not too hung up on exactly what's happening in this pan. And now these are shiitake mushrooms. I'm gonna do 3 of those, and I'm gonna slice that very thinly. Sometimes people ask about wash mushrooms, don't wash mushrooms. I would just offer my opinion is to go ahead and wash your mushrooms. I've worked with some professional chefs, and we've actually gone mushroom foraging in the woods, which is another really fun experience. When you do that, when you're taking a mushroom right out of the woods, you definitely wash it. So I'm not sure where the thing about not washing mushrooms came from, but I always wash them and then I pat them dry so that they're dry. So these are sliced. Those are gonna go in too. That is gonna just be sauteing around on sort of a medium-high heat. I'm gonna put a little salt and pepper in there. I feel like I'm always saying that in every video. Salt and pepper, salt and pepper, salt and pepper. It is pretty much my go-to seasoning. I guess it's everybody's, but you'd think there'd be something more original, but I really love the way it ends up working. Now, we're gonna get our eggs ready while that's going. We have 8 eggs here, but we're gonna use 4 whole eggs and 4 egg whites. I like to crack eggs this way. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. You bang one egg against the other egg and see which one is tougher. So far, the one on the left is really holding his own. Yeah. He's the champion. Okay, so now we have to go this way because we're doing egg whites. So I'm just gonna toss that back and forth. And then I'm gonna keep these yolks in the bowl. I'm not sure what I'm gonna make with them, but I like to not waste things. Often when I have extra egg yolks, lemon curd comes to mind. But then that means I have to make like a lemon pie, which is amazing, but then I'm in the kitchen longer. All right, so we've got 4 whole eggs and 4 egg whites. All right, so let's see how this is doing. You can see that the onions are starting to sweat down, steam coming off of them. Everything's getting a little bit cooked. I want to cook it here. I want to be sauteing it until the onions at least start to get a little bit of brown on them before I compose the casserole. I want to whisk these eggs up. Really, you're just trying to get air in there so that it'll be a nice and fluffy. Fluffy! That always reminds me of, was it The Incredibles? Oh, Despicable Me, right. It's so fluffy, I'm gonna die! I think when that movie came out, my daughter loved that. We used to say that all the time. Okay, so those are pretty whipped up. And then I'm just gonna prep my casserole pan. This happens to be one of my favorite pans. It's a La Crusette pan, but I just love the size and the weight and the color. So I've got a little bit of butter here, and I'm buttering the bottom and the sides, the whole thing. So that's starting to get a nice little brown on the bottom of it. Sometimes something I like to do when you can see that the food is sort of starting to stick and that browning is kind of like the sugars of the food, which is good. I like to add just a little bit of water, and it kind of lifts that yummy brown part off of the bottom of the pan. I guess technically that's called deglazing. Usually you do that with wine. This is sort of like a quiche, the way this is going to turn out, except we're going to do it without a crust. So if you're gluten-free, this would be a good idea for you. We're going to put fresh spinach in the base. You're covering the bottom of the pan, so it's almost like a crust. That's going to act as sort of the base of your little egg pie that you're making. I'm going to go ahead and pour just a little bit of my egg mixture. I'm going to use a spoon to sort of, push that down. And that's looking pretty good to me. It's got some color on the mushrooms and a little browning on the onions. So that's sort of where we want that to be. We're going to take that and we're going to layer that in here. And we're going to pour a little bit more egg in there. And then we're going to finish up with the rest of it. So actually, this recipe, it's not quick because you do bake it for 30 minutes, but it's easy in that you're getting it all kind of contained in one pot, and then this is just going to go in the oven. So I'm going to use my spoon again just to kind of make sure that it's all covered with egg. And then lastly, we're going to take a block of yummy, yummy Parmesan cheese, and we're just going to grate that over the top. And this is really, choose your own adventure. I happen to love cheese, so I'm going to grate a lot of cheese. But if you're not a cheese lover, you're insane. No, if you're not a cheese lover, you can skip the cheese or you can use less. But I do think that the cheese is kind of the icing on the cake on this one. I'm just going to do a little more pepper and a little bit of salt because I didn't really season the eggs. That's what that looks like before it goes in the oven. And then you put the cover on. It goes into the oven at 350 for 30 minutes, and then you'll have delicious breakfast for you and all your family, or your friends, or your family and your friends. Perfect. Be back in 30 minutes. Okay, so I have my egg casserole baking in the oven, and it's baking for 30 minutes, and this is a perfect time, especially with breakfast, for me to make myself a cup of coffee. And I am loving hand making my espresso with this Nomad machine. It's my favorite thing. I can even bring it in my camper, my VW, my van therapy VW bus, because it doesn't take any plugs or anything. You can take it with you wherever you go. All you need is some wonderful coffee that I'm spooning into there. I'm tapping it down. So excited about my coffee. That goes back in the machine. Put that down. Okay, I'm gonna fill this up. Piping hot boiling water. That's what you need every morning. The perfect cup of espresso. So I put the little lid on. This is the fun part because you are hand creating the pressure that the water is gonna go through. And if you keep it in this little green crema zone, you get the perfect creamy texture of coffee. Oh, so excited. Okay, and you get a little workout. You could just make a ton of coffee for all your friends and never go to the gym. It's so fun. It's like a little dance. And green's one of my favorite colors. And it matches my VW bus, if you've seen it. If you haven't, check out my episodes of Van Therapy. It's still in the green, it's still in the green. Oh, I feel like I must be almost out of water. Because now the pressure's going down, pressure's going down. Oh, look at that. Look at how creamy that looks. If you don't know this about me, I have been collecting vintage, beautiful, fancy schmancy teacups, one of a kinds, for decades. And this is one of them, and it has a little saucer with it. I just love it. Perfect. I think with all the stress going on these days in the world, it's really nice to just take time, do something nice for yourself, like make a cup of espresso in a very pretty cup. Okay, so I think our egg casserole is probably ready. I'm gonna get that out of the oven and we are gonna check it out. I just love this pot. It makes me happy. I don't know why. Do you guys have that? Do you have any dishes that actually make you happy? Oh, wow. Oh, that looks beautiful. So it kind of turns out like a little quiche that you can cut into the shape of like a piece of pie, but without the crust. So I'm gonna plate this up and we're gonna taste it. So there you have a little slice of a wonderful egg casserole. I'm gonna check that out. Oh my gosh, that's so good and so healthy. Subscribe to my channel to find all sorts of healthy, fun things to cook. And check out the broccoli situation video. Learn how to pickle broccoli stalks.